What's up, fifth grade? Today, this lesson comes from my garage. Yeah, you can probably hear a cricket chirping right now in the background. My garage is here because we're going to take apart a computer today and we're going to see what's on the inside of it. So stick around as we bust open computers. So, we know that all computers do four basic things. They take information in, they store it, they process it, and then they output it somehow. Take input, store it, process it, output. So this here is an old laptop computer. It doesn't have a keyboard, it doesn't have a mouse, it doesn't have a screen on it. This is just the computer part. This is an old one from my lab, okay? Now already, right here at the front, we can find ways that information comes into the computer. So take a look, like right here. This thing right here is a place for your headphones. That would actually be output. So that, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Microphone. The microphone, I'm pointing to the right spot. The microphone is a way that information can go into the computer. Here are USB slots. These USB slots are places that you can put memory sticks and whatnot, also ways for information to go in. This right here is a CD player or DVD player, and that also was a place that information can go. You can put in the disk so information goes in. This right here is called a 3.5-inch floppy drive, and it actually was a way that we used to store information as well, like way back in the day. They don't even make these anymore. But again, we could put in that information and have some sort of program on it. On the back here, let's take a look at the back. See if we can see anything here. Yep, okay, so here on the back we've got other places. Here, this is the way that we used to have to connect the mice, is through this port and the keyboard. Examples of input right there. This is also like an audio in port right here. We got a lot of USB ports here. This guy right here, this is a place that you can actually physically connect to the internet. Not this one. Computer didn't have Wi-Fi in it, so we had to actually plug in. We're using a cable, Cat 5 Ethernet cable. It goes right in there, and it would give us the internet. So again, another source of input. So input, things like your mice, things like your keyboard, things like your USB drives. Those are all examples. So what about the next thing? The next thing that we're going to talk about is storage. So let's take this thing off. Now on these old desktops, it was actually kind of nice because it was pretty easy to be able to, I say that, oh there we go, slid the wrong way, slide them all off. All right, here's a computer from the inside. Kind of cool, huh? So a couple of things that first I'm going to draw our attention to. This was that CD player, okay? Look how big it is. Look how much space it takes. It takes up 1/4 of the space of this whole entire thing. I'm able to just kind of slide it out like this to kind of get it out of the way. Look, it's connected with this big ribbon, connected right down there. But anyways, computers nowadays, like they don't even have these CD-ROMs in here. And you can kind of see why. Like they're huge, they're big, they take up so much room that a lot of companies don't even just want to deal with it. So they take that out. The other huge thing I see right here is your power source. And I can actually take this out like so. So you plug it in here, and inside is basically a little mini power plant. Got all these wires and things like that inside of there. It's got a huge fan to try and keep things cool. On these old computers, like one good thing about them was that they're pretty powerful. We could, well, not this particular one. This one's pretty old, but other computers were pretty powerful. And they can be powerful because you can put a big old fan in there, a big old power in there. It can really do some work that way. I'm going to set that over there to the side so that we can kind of see. All right, here's the inner part of the computer here. So one of the big things that sticks out to me, of course, would be this green mat. It kind of looks like a city, if you think about it. Like looks like little white roads on it. They're all connected to different spots. This is called the motherboard, and so pretty much all the electronic parts sit right up here on the motherboard. And actually, it really doesn't take all that much space. But we were looking for two places that store information. we talked about how you can either do short-term storage or long-term storage. Short-term storage is called your RAM, your random access memory. So to find the RAM on an old computer like this, it's actually going to be this thing that's kind of sticking up right here. So this thing that's kind of sticking up is my RAM, and the cool thing about these old computers too is that if you didn't have enough RAM, you could actually take it out and replace it. So this is what the RAM kind of looked like. And down here is all gold. Up here it's all gold as well because we wanted these connections to be super fast. Gold is actually one of the best conductors of electricity. And so most of the gold that we actually mine in the United States isn't made for jewelry, it's made for electronics like this. Now if I take a look at this RAM right here, you can say, well, made in Korea, okay. But I'm actually going to find right here, it says this RAM is 512 megabytes. 512 megabytes. Now this computer itself is a pretty old computer, like, I don't know, probably more than 10 years old or so. 512 megabytes, they don't even make RAM that small anymore. The Chromebooks that you're using are probably 2 to 4 gigabytes. And just for a frame of reference, 1,000 megabytes is equal to a gigabyte. So this is like half a gigabyte. And like I said, cheap computers now, they have like 4 gigabytes. So this computer 10 years ago, not near as powerful as the computers that we have today. But still, the RAM here on this one could have been replaced. If you could find one that fits this slot right here, you could replace it with 4, 8, 12, 16 gigabytes, even more, 32 gigabytes. You get really fast at that. This short-term storage is important for getting things fast. If your computer is laggy, if you want to do more than 2 things at once, if you like playing games on a computer, you need RAM. It stores the information about what programs open, what buttons are needed, what code is needed. It stores it right here. And because it's really close then to the rest of the computer, you get that information fast, and that's what you want. You want fast information right there. So the faster your RAM, the more powerful your RAM is, the faster your information is. All right, now the other kind though of information, the problem with RAM, let me just go back, the problem with RAM is that when you turn the computer off, you wipe the RAM clean. There's nothing on this. So like right there, there was no information stored on there. And that's why like in video games and stuff like that, if you turn your computer off without saving it, or you turn your Xbox off without saving it, like you lose all your progress because it was all stored on the RAM, and when the power goes off, it's done. We also need long-term storage. The long-term storage is called our hard drive, and in this computer, it's actually located right here. And I'm gonna slide it out. Thought I could slide it out. Yes, I could slide it. Come here, RAM. Do this. There we go, got it. Okay, here is our hard drive. Now I've disconnected it. But the hard drive is really good because it allows you to store information on it even after the computer is turned off. So right now, even though this is 10, 15 years old or so, there is pictures and videos and photos and files and music and all sorts of things that's stored right here. And if I wanted to, and I had a computer that had the same kind of connections here, I could actually plug this into another computer, boot it up, and it would have all of my stuff on it. And that was what happens sometimes when computers break, is that they can take out the hard drive here and put it in the body of another computer, and then everything is like it was before, which is pretty awesome. This hard drive usually has way more space in it than the RAM does. This one has 80 gigabytes. That's not bad, 80 gigabytes. My phone, I believe, has 60 gigabytes by itself. So, you know, most phones have about as much hard drive space as these old computers did. And it's also pretty big for being 80 gigabytes that way. But still, at the same time, you know, it's not too bad. So I'm gonna put that over there to the side. So we have our hard drive. That's our long-term storage. That's for files that we want to keep even after the power is turned off. And we have our RAM. This is our short term. This is information that is fast and quick and easy to get to. If we tried to store games on a hard drive and access all the information on games on a hard drive, it would be super slow. It would take so long to actually play the game. You'd turn left and have to wait 10 seconds for it to turn left. But this stuff is fast, but there's not a lot of it, and it gets erased. What about processing? So processing is now the next part. There's a couple of different places that processing happens. You see these big things right here? These are computer chips. This one says Intel, that's a big chip maker. And those chips, those are our processors. But there's also another bigger processor. Can you see it? Wherever you're thinking you're seeing it, you're wrong, because the chip is actually hidden. It's hidden under this thing. This thing is a giant air conditioner, and that's because the central processing unit, the CPU, the main chip, the brain of this whole computer, gets really, really hot because it does a lot of calculations using electricity. And because it gets so hot with electricity, most computers give it its own air conditioner like this to try and cool it down. So when I take the air conditioner off, it sits right on here. This heats up, goes through these coils. The fan actually blows, and it blows through the coils that way. If you have a laptop that ever gets too hot, it's probably because the fan is being blocked, and you want to try and somehow move your laptop so that the fan isn't being blocked. But that leads us to uncover this guy. And this guy is our CPU. This is the brain of the entire computer. This computer actually controls these other chips as well. Every instruction goes through this. So the better this is, the better your computer is. And it actually is like, it's pushed down in there, but it's got a little cage on it, and I can actually take the cage off. And now I have just removed the brain from the computer. Take a look at it, okay? It sits on these little, you can't really see them that well, but they're little dots. And this again is made of gold, because gold is an amazing conductor of electricity. And this gold helps those electrons, that electricity, shoot back and forth and do all the calculations. But this little guy, this is what makes a computer run the way it's supposed to run. You can replace them sometimes. It's not like they're interchangeable. Any tire fits it's not like any tire fits any car. You got big cars, you got small cars. Same thing with these. Not any CPU can go right in here. It has to be a special kind. However, if you did want to upgrade, you could switch this out and get a faster brain for your computer. Now, the last thing that we have in a computer has four main parts. It has the input. We talked about that's with the microphone. And then we have the keyboard. That's also input. We have the storage. Your storage is your hard drive and your RAM. We have the CPU, the processor. SOP processor is like this guy. It's the brains of the computer. And then there's output. And so output is actually found again on the outside. So the output is things like your headphones. Headphones go out. On the back here, this one was for a printer. So it goes out to the printer, or it goes out to your screen, or it goes out to, I don't know what that was, something else. So it goes out to those different places. And if it's going out, then that's what we call output. Okay? Now, let's also take apart a laptop and see if we can see the exact same things. So here is an older laptop. It is newer than the desktop that we just took apart, but still probably, I don't know, 2015, 2016 or so. Ooh, maybe even 2013. Cool thing about a laptop, of course, is that it has all of that input right there. Here's our keyboard, that's input. Here's our mouse, that's input. These buttons are input. The input is usually on the side as well. Here's a DVD player right here. And on the back here, here's where we put in the internet. Here's another place, a phone line that we can connect. USB ports, goes in to the computer. Here is a microphone in, more USB ports, like so. So lots of different inputs right there. Now to get to the other side, looks like this. The underside is how we're going to get into this computer. Now, one of the things I want to point out right away is, of course, what laptops are nice about is they're able to be mobile. And one of the reasons they're mobile is because they have a battery. Old computers like this used to have a battery that you could actually take out, and we used to travel around with these. And we could have extra ones. So if our battery ran out, we would just get an extra. So that was the battery part. Newer batteries, of course, are actually much better. But you can't replace them. All right, so that's the battery. Now, we identified the input. Now we're about the storage. So the storage on this particular computer is found here. I'm going to undo this, and we're going to undo this thing, and then pop this off. All right, this is your RAM. So this RAM is actually found here. Kind of looks a little bit similar. I'm not going to take it out right now, but it is going to have, let's see, ooh, it says right here, you can't really see it, it says 1 gigabyte of RAM. So it's about twice as more powerful than my other computer, my desktop computer, but it again is not like nearly as powerful as modern computers are. Okay, so there's that. What about our hard drive? Actually, the hard drive is found right here. And I've already undone it, but I can actually take this out. And this hard drive is how we stored long-term information on these laptops. This hard drive, let's see, ooh, look, 120 gigabytes. So 40 more gigabytes and about half the size of the other hard drive in the other computer over there. And so a big improvement has already been made on these kind of hard drives that way. Again, you can take this out, you could put it into any other computer that, you know, you gotta have the right connections. It's not like you could just put it into a laptop right now. But once you are able to find those connections, you put it in, you're gonna be able to find, you know, all your files, all your photos, your music, media, everything like that. Okay, so I'm gonna set that to the side over there. All right. Now what I got to do is got to find the processor. So processor is found on the inside. Let's go ahead and unscrew this. Now this actually is held together with lots of different screws. But I took them out already to save time. Flip it over and carefully though, so I don't lose the screws that we got here. Okay, so there we go. I'm gonna flip this over, and now that I've taken it out, I'm gonna go ahead and pull it off. So here's the back side of this. The keyboard's on the other side here. The keys are on the other side. You can actually still open this up and, you know, see the keys like so. All right. What do we got here? Okay, here's our battery. Here's our CD DVD player. Notice how it still takes up like a quarter of the room. And so like when they try and make smaller, better laptops, one of the first things they do is get rid of this. This is why most modern computers don't have CD drives, is they take up just way too much space. And if you could make the battery smaller, that would also really help. This was where the hard drive was. I still have some computer chips here. These chips are going to be like graphics chips. A lot of modern computers, they have the central processor, which is what we're looking for, but they also have other computer chips to handle other parts of the computing process, graphics being a big one, sound being another one of those. So that's what we see here. Now, just like with the other computer, if we're looking for the CPU, what we need to find is that air conditioning unit, and it looks like it's right here. I can see how this is going to heat up and transfers the heat here, and then this fan is actually going to blow, and that as it blows air through here, cools it off, and then it transfers the heat away and cools off whatever is underneath. So let's go ahead and figure out what's underneath this thing. All right, let's take a look. Air conditioning unit sits right on top of there. Take it aside, and here's the brain. The brain is there we go, right here. They're made of gold like that, and so again, it transfers electricity really, really fast. It's a really good conductor. If you wanted to upgrade this, you could. I can't see how fast it is, but if you found another one that kind of looks like this and works like this, you could put it in there and basically upgrade your brain. And then last, of course, we'd have the outputs. The outputs would be here. This is output to a display, like a screen. We have output to the actual screen here. This would be another screen that we can output to. We've got speakers. The speakers actually on this computer are located here. So that's a speaker and that's a speaker. That's a form of output. Our headphone jack, wherever that went. There it is over there. The headphone jack, that's going to be able to be output as well. So the big takeaway to all of this, computers do 4 basic things. All computers do 4 things. They take in information, they store it, they process it, and then they output it again. And as long as it does those 4 things, it's considered a computer. Now we took apart just a laptop and a desktop, but if we took apart a cell phone, we'd probably find it do the same thing. If we took apart maybe a lot of different electronic things that might have a motherboard on it, we'd probably find the areas that there's information that's kept, there's information that's processed, ways to take in information, ways to output the information. So next time we will talk even more about how computers work and get into other things like the screen.